It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, Bruce would like to share some memories about his family's Christmas traditions from his childhood in the Gen X era and how they've evolved over time. On Christmas Eve, they would gather around the TV to watch classic holiday specials like Rudolph and Frosty. Then, before bed, they left out cookies and milk for Santa. Feel free to leave a comment about your own family traditions. We would like to hear what you folks do differently. Let's get started, shall we?
Hey guys, welcome back once again. Tonight we are talking about Christmas traditions from a Gen X guy point of view. These are traditions that we did when I was a kid, and not a lot of them are done anymore. Some of them are. A lot of them are. A lot of them have modified for modern days. But I just want to see, I want to share some of my memories of what Christmas used to be about when I was a little kid, you know, into growing up and having my own kids. And I'd like to compare ideas with you guys. If I missed something, or if there's something from your childhood or one of your Christmas traditions that I don't know about, I'd like you to put it in the comments. So do me a favor so you don't forget, just click that like button. It really helps me out. A lot of people haven't been doing that, but I'd like it if you did. Consider it a Christmas present to me. Now, I know tonight, normally, I promised I was going to do a trivia night. I may or may not do that. It's still early. It's only 9 o'clock here in Pennsylvania. But this was on my mind today because I finished putting up some Christmas decorations in the house. And it got me thinking of what we used to do when I was a kid compared to what people do now. So, now I was a kid back in the 70s and 80s. I was born in 1968. My parents were older, so they weren't boomers. They were what's called the silent generation. Both my father and mother were born in 1931, I think. And my grandparents were both born in 1903. So I was always raised around older people. Because older people were boomers to me. Older people would be these guys. I wasn't even supposed to be born. My parents were in their late 30s whenever I was born. And, it led to having a little different childhood than a Gen X person who has boomers for parents. So some of these might seem a little old-fashioned, but I kind of like old-fashioned. I know, I'm running my mouth. Let's get started. So Christmas time would come along. The first thing we would do is put up the Christmas lights. And it was a big project in my house when I was a little kid. We had to crawl up into the attic. We didn't have staircase like they did in Christmas Vacation. We had a hole in the ceiling, and I had to climb up that hole. Keep in mind, I was a fat kid, and I couldn't even do chin-up. So imagine me climbing up through this little 3x3 hole in the ceiling to get the Christmas decorations and specifically lights out at this time. Well, I managed to crawl my fat ass up into the attic and pull out the Christmas lights and stuff and hand them to my father. He'd be standing down there, handing them, and he'd be bitching the whole time because he's like, oh, the dust makes me sick. The dust makes me sick. I can't breathe. Claimed he had allergies. At the time, just being a little kid, I just thought he was full of crap. Here I am at 56 years old, and I have allergies from that stuff, so now I understand it. But still, so we take the lights out, and back then we used the big, huge bulbs on an electrical string. They're all screwed in. You know, if one went out, the whole thing went out. It wasn't like today's where, you know, one goes out, the rest stay lit. No. If you lost one bulb, you lost the whole string. Sorry, I spilled my iced tea. I'm just going to keep talking because I don't care. So they were a giant pain in the ass to put up in the first place. And we had a red and white split-level house. So my dad insisted, I made a mess. My dad insisted that we use blue bulbs because he wanted red, white, and blue. All right, no big deal. So we'd spend all day putting the bulbs up exactly where he wanted it. He kind of took the fun out of it. And this is before the little mini bulbs, too. This is, like I said, the early 70s. And we used these lights all the way up until the 90s whenever I moved out. So it was always a project to put them up. But once we put it up, I'll be honest, it looked kind of neat. It really did. Perfect blue bulb spacing because my dad was more OCD than I am. But that was the first Christmas season tradition that we had. After the lights were up, my dad was very finicky about when we could run them. He'd let us run them from 6 to 9. Turn them on at 6 o'clock, turn them off at 9 o'clock. Said it messed up his electricity bill. Which I can understand that, being like legit bulbs, not the LEDs that save electricity today. But my parents had money. They weren't poor. So I could never understand. I mean, where everybody else on the street, because back then, setting up the lights was a big deal for everybody. The whole street would do it. They'd leave theirs on until, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, from what I remember. But my dad had to cut it off at 9, but that's enough. He was just a huge miser when it came to that. But it was a memory putting them up, spending the time with my father, putting the lights up. Now, speaking of lights, our neighborhood, I lived in a little town called Fort Allen, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Greensburg, Pennsylvania. We used to have a neighborhood competition. Fort Allen, everybody would, do their house up and have best house and stuff like that. We never won best house or nothing like that. But every year we would do that, and it was fun. I remember that. I remember thinking, oh, maybe we're going to win this year. Maybe we're going to win this year. We never did. But that's okay. It was fun. I got to spend time with my dad. So setting up the lights was the very first thing we would do when the holiday season came. And my dad had a strict rule. We weren't allowed to even talk about the lights until the day after Thanksgiving, which I'm the same way today. Day after Thanksgiving, that's when I put the lights up. I don't care if it's 9 below zero out there or 52 and raining. I'm out there putting up the lights. And then eventually, I grew up and moved out of the house, and then my dad stopped putting up lights altogether. They just put little things because they were getting older. In fact, my dad passed away in 2003, and the year before he passed away, because he was sick, doesn't matter. I'm dealing with the same thing. He said to me a year before he passed away, he's like, this might be the last Christmas I'm around. Would you mind decorating the house? And that meant so much to me that he wanted me to put the lights up. And yes, I used the old traditional blue bulb lights that we had used ever since my childhood because they still had them. And I was able to find some bulbs and put it up. So that's always meant something to me. And to this day, I still decorate my own house. I got rid of the blue, though. I don't use the blue. I use strictly red and green, and our house looks pretty nice. I don't have a picture of it. I just finished it today, so maybe I'll throw a picture in the next video. But that's why that tradition meant so much to me. But that was the first thing we did at Christmas. I know, I went on and on and on about it. I promise not to go on a lot about the rest of the stuff. The next thing that came along, our tradition, was Christmas cards. And my mother, my father, myself, and my sister, we would sit at the dining room table and we would fill out Christmas cards for our friends and relatives. And I'm not going to lie, I hated that tradition. I hated sitting there trying to write Merry Christmas to a bunch of people that never even come visit us. And my mom was the one that would enclose a little letter saying, oh, here's what's happening with the Jennings household over the past year. I know damn well nobody cares, and I knew back then nobody cares. But it made them happy. So that was the second tradition we did. And that's all I really have to say about that. I don't send out Christmas cards anymore. You're lucky if you get a Merry Christmas on Facebook. After the outside of the house was done and the Christmas cards were done, then we'd start decorating the inside of the house. And I'm talking about the Christmas tree. Now, I have never, to this day, ever had a live tree. My parents never got live trees. Don't really know why. We had just the generic plastic green tree, and my mom would put the same gold decorations on it. It was tradition for our house. Only gold, nothing else but gold. Handmade ornament? No, that she'd sit it on a shelf somewhere. She wouldn't put it on a tree. It had to be gold garland, gold bulbs. If it was gold, you could put it on the tree. And that's it. And that was just our family tradition. Of course, I've changed that over the years now. It's not always just gold. And on the bottom of our tree, we put a train set. My dad always wanted to have a train set. That's an old tradition apparently from the 1950s, where there always had to be a train going around the bottom of the tree. And I did love that tradition. I can't do it now because I have 2 pit bull mixes and 1 Jack Russell, and they're nuts. So, yeah, that just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. But I did always love having a train going around a tree. I remember my favorite train was this steam locomotive, and it would actually blow smoke. And I just watch it go around. It just fascinated me, especially as a little kid. And in fact, I remember one of the beatings I got during Christmas was when I put the baby Jesus on the railroad tracks and hit him with the train. Yeah, I was a weird kid. But it just brought back good memories of always having a train under the tree. I don't do a train now. because of my doggies. But that was a fun tradition that we used to do every year. Now, if you went to my grandfather's house, like I said, it was old generation or older. They had the silver chrome trees, and hopefully I remember to put a picture up. The silver chrome tree with a color wheel and a light shining through the color wheel on the tree. So it would just turn color. It was a silver tree, chrome tree, and this light would beat on the tree and just change it color to color to color, and it would cycle through. And I remember thinking how interesting it was when I was a little kid. They're not popular now. In fact, I don't even know if you can buy one. But this is old school. This is like 1940s, 50s stuff. But my grandfather always had that silver tree for years and years and years, and I got a lot of great memories from that. So that was kind of a tradition too growing up. We didn't have it, but they did. And speaking of our family tree, my mom for years would buy the spray snow, and every year she would spray it on the tree because she wanted the tree to look like it had snow on it. And it did look nice. I mean, it looked nice. It was a little spray container like this, just spraying, put the snow, make it look like it snowed on the tree. The problem was it fell off all the time, and cleanup of that was a nightmare. I remember her complaining, we're never doing this again. We're never doing this again. We did it for like 15 years straight, like literally 15 years straight. And it just made a mess. And like I said, we always had a plastic tree. We never had a real tree. Don't really know why. And I've never had a real tree since because, well, when I got married the first time, my ex-wife, yeah, I've been married a couple times. This is the mother of my kids, though. My first wife, I'm pretty sure she was allergic to live trees, too. So we never had a live tree. Now, my current wife, who I've been married to for 15 years here in April, same thing. She's allergic to live trees. So I don't think I'm ever going to get a live tree in my lifetime. But you know what? That's okay. I can give it up because I'm happy. So I guess it's safe to say that a plastic fake tree is one of our Christmas traditions. Inadvertently, by the way. Inadvertently, because I would love to have a live tree. Just never done it. One last thing about our family tree. Not only did my mom used to put the spray snow all over it, but they used to buy the icicle tinsel. It's basically long strands of what looks like foil, and you would just sit there and flick them on the tree. And it did look decent when it was done. Hopefully I found a picture and put it up there so you can see what I'm talking about. It did look kind of decent. It was the product of the times, 70s and 80s. But once again, it made a mess. Once you took the tree down at the end of the season, you would find tinsel, the tinsel strands laying all over the place, just like that damn Easter grass you get in the bottom of Easter baskets. You find that for months, too. It just gets everywhere, like places you wouldn't even think it's going to be. Yeah, you get it everywhere. Now, as far as trees go, that was my childhood tradition. But, we still kept the plastic tree. When I got divorced, this is not supposed to be a sad video, but the year after I got divorced from my second wife, I was married to my second wife a whole 90 days, and that's a whole other story, but let it go. I had full custody of my kids. I got divorced from my second wife, and I moved into a duplex. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was a duplex. Moved into a duplex, and that was our first Christmas there. Well, me going through my second divorce, I barely had pennies in my pocket. I was working all the time. I was working like 3 jobs, just trying to get ahead and get stuff fixed. Well, we got divorced that year. I moved out, obviously, and me and the kids moved to this duplex in Greensburg and started over, which, starting over is not fun, but sometimes it's necessary in life to make yourself happy. And honestly, it was a good decision that I made for me and my children. But that particular year, we didn't have money to go get a Christmas tree, or we didn't have any decorations. We had nothing. My ex took everything, pretty much took everything I had. Even the what's it called? The heirlooms, family heirlooms and stuff like that. Like I said, not supposed to be a sad video. I just want to say what happened. So I'm like, all right, I had X amount of dollars. We went over to the dollar store, and they had trees there at the dollar store. I didn't pay $1 for it. It was, I think it was like $20 for this tree. Brought it home. It was like a Charlie Brown tree. I'm like, I had no lights. I had no ornaments. I had no nothing. So everything we got, we either got it from the dollar store or we made it. And most of the things we put on the tree were, we just took little boxes, little blocks of wood. Like, those little blocks you give to like 3-year-olds to play with? Well, me and my daughter sat down, and they were, let's see, how old would they have been? probably about 7 or 8 at the time. So we sat down and we wrapped these up, made them into little mock presents. We used those for ornaments. And anything else we could think, we put on the tree. The tree had everything but lights. And we decided that we were going to sit down and do it old school. We wanted to have an old school Christmas tree without the candles, because we're not trying to burn the house down. Because back in the day, they used to put candles on your tree and they'd light them. And that's crazy, but they did it on a real tree, which would dry out and it would catch fire and burn your house down. We weren't trying to do that. But what we did do is we made some popcorn, took a needle and thread and sat there all night, just stringing the popcorn on the strings. All of a sudden we'd hang it on the tree. And I know it sounds humble and pathetic, but you want to know something? In my mind, that year was the best Christmas me and my girls ever had. And this is before meeting my new wife. Since then, things have gotten a lot better, obviously. I fixed my shit. But that year, making that tree, that little modest tree with homemade decorations and stuff, whatever they wanted to put on it, that tree was gorgeous. And if I could find a picture, I'll throw it up here. I don't know where to look. It's around somewhere. But it was a very humble tree, and the kids and I enjoyed making it. I mean, they were uprooted, and, we all had our depression issues that year, let's face it. Unfortunately, that was the same year my father passed away.
Seriously, Bruce, depression or not, what the fuck?
But, yeah. So I thought maybe we could make that a tradition, at least to do the popcorn strings. Well, that tradition didn't stick around for me and the girls. We did it the next year, I think, and then I don't think we've done it ever since. And that was back in 2003, 2004. But it was a fun day, and it made my kids appreciate Christmas more. And I was able to pull it out of my ass and give them decent gifts that year, and we got through it. Hey, we're strong people. We get through everything. But the popcorn string and the homemade decorations is the one thing that I kind of wish we still would do. I still have some homemade decorations that my kids made me on the tree to this day that remind us of that day. But, you have good Christmases and you have bad Christmases. Most people would think that's a bad Christmas. I honestly think it's a good Christmas. So popcorn strings off the list. So back to when I was a kid. So we got the tree up. We got the lights up. Went and visited Grandma and Grandpa. They had their tree up with the tin tree. It's getting closer to Christmas. Oh, scrape off the tinsel. It's getting closer to Christmas. So now, it's a little bit different. And you're getting ready to get into the holiday. So we go Christmas shopping all together. We would all pow in the car. My mother, my father, my sister, myself. And we would go all day shopping. We would go to the mall. There's a place out here called Greengate Mall back in the day. And going to the mall, and keep in mind, I'm just a little kid. Trying to buy some stuff for my family with what little money I had for my allowance. And I actually had a paper route back then, so I saved up my paper route money. But of course, a little kid like that doesn't have a lot of money to spend. So we go to Greengate Mall, and back then, they used to go all out. They would deck the whole mall. Every place you looked, there was Christmas lights, Christmas decorations. They had a believable Santa down there. You get out and sit on his lap and, tell him what you wanted for Christmas. It was a believable Santa, not like today. And, they had a train. You could jump on the train. It was just incredible. It was just incredible, especially for a little kid. And then there was actually stores that had little special tables that you could go to if you were a little kid, just to buy, be equivalent to dollar store stuff now that you could buy for your family and relatives and friends, just to give the kids something to feel like they were buying something. But at the time, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And that was a tradition, too, going to Greengate Mall and talking to Santa, riding the train. Nowadays, they still have Santa at the mall. Well, Greengate Mall got torn down. There's another mall called Westmoreland Mall, and no one goes to the malls anymore. It's not half as busy as it used to be. There's people walking around, but not elbows to assholes like it used to be. Everybody gets everything online now. And there's no thought in, there's some thought, but there's not a lot of thought in Christmas gifts, where you walk around the mall or something like that. You spend all day. It was a family thing. We go around. I run around with my dad. My mom and sister would go do their girl shopping stuff, and my dad would go do his thing, and then we'd go to the little kiddie table, like I was saying. That was tradition for us. Yeah, nobody does anything like that anymore. Everything is just like, oh, here's my cell phone, just order it online. Here's a gift card, use it. It's just different. It's just different. I know technology has completely evolved since it was in 1970s and 80s, but this is what we dealt with, especially when I was a kid. So cross the all-day shopping off the list.
We are Santa's elves. We play with ourselves. We don't have dicks. We don't give a shit. We are Santa's elves.
So we're winding down to Christmas dinner day. And, well, yeah, because I'm old now, I think of dinner more than I think of the presents. But little Brucey and little Becky, my sister, in the 70s, Christmas Day, we would wake up at a reasonable time, probably about 8, 9 o'clock. To this day, I still don't like mornings. And we'd run down the stairs and see what Santa Claus brought us. Back then, I did believe in Santa Claus up until I was about 5 years old whenever my sister ruined it. And my dad... I don't know. I don't think my dad liked Santa Claus at all, or the whole idea of it. But the gifts were fine. We get down, we'd open up our gifts and stuff like that. My dad, we'd be sitting there, and I'm pretty sure he was drinking some alcohol in his beverage. I don't really know what it was, though. I know he liked Canadian Windsor. But it reminds me of the movie, and we're going to talk about this too. Christmas Story. Where they're sitting there while the kids are opening up the gifts, and they're sitting there with big glasses of wine, just getting drunk at like whatever time they got up. I'm assuming it's probably around the same time, 8, 9 o'clock. 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Who drinks wine? I don't know. But it always, when that movie came out, it reminded me of that. That's why I like that movie so much, because it reminded me of my childhood. In fact, my dad loved that movie. Christmas Story. It came out in 1983, so this is after I was a little kid. I was a teenager. It came out in 1983, and I think they started playing it 24 hours on TNT in 1985. I could be wrong about that. I haven't done the research, so correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But I do remember once it started coming out playing 24/7, my dad would, first thing he'd do is turn on the TV and put on Christmas Story, because it reminded him of his era, because that's actually set in the era my father grew up in. So, but it's very similar because I was raised by old people. So that was my Christmas Day, and then dinner came. Now, dinner was a huge project. My dad would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he would get everything ready, and it was his job to cook the turkey. Now, our family always had turkey. That's been another Christmas tradition since I was a little kid, because no one in our family likes ham. A lot of people do ham. Some people do goose. Some people do prime rib. I'm kind of leaning toward the prime rib, but man, is it expensive nowadays. But my dad would get up at 5 o'clock and make the turkey. He thought it was just a big deal, and that was his job. And he would sit there and he'd cut the celery and onions. And it bothers me as a chef now. It bothers me because he'd sit there and take a knife and he would do this to cut each individual piece perfect. And I told you it was OCD. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, but using the knife, yeah, no, you don't do this. I know that now. I didn't know that when I was a kid. But he wouldn't let anybody touch anything. It was his job and his job alone to cook that turkey. And he had everybody thinking in the whole family that nobody could do it but him. I just recently, for Thanksgiving, I taught my wife how to cook a turkey. She says she's never cooked a turkey. Well, I teach her. Sure. I taught her. She's like, are you kidding me? This is easy. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a guy's secret. But, since we're in modern worlds and everybody's all, yeah, it's easy. It's easy to cook a turkey, and it's easy to keep it moist. Moist. Probably lost like 10 subscribers just by saying that. So we'd sit down to Christmas dinner finally at about 4 o'clock p.m. And usually the turkey was cold because my dad would screw around with it too much. Still got Christmas Story playing in the background. And it was myself, my sister, in the 70s and 80s. Myself, my sister, mom and dad. My Uncle Judd, who was an amazing person, God rest his soul. If I remember, I'll try to put a picture of him up there because he was just a great guy. He was a lot like me. He would come over. He was single, had a rough life. So he always came to our house for holidays, whether we invited him or not. And he used to bring a store-bought fruitcake. Now, my dad hates fruitcake. My mom hates fruitcake. I'm not fond of it. I don't really know if my sister liked it or not. I don't think she did. But I found out later in life, hanging out with my Uncle Judd, that he did it to be a jerk. He did it to be funny. All those fruitcakes he bought was just to be funny, to mess with his sister, who was my mother. And I had a little newer respect for him for that, because I like passive-aggressive humor. But yeah, he used to bring a fruitcake and always ended up in the garbage. I always thought that was funny. So we'd eat our Christmas dinner, And, when I was really young, we used to go to my grandmother and grandfather's house, and that was a huge dinner. But we only did that till about 1974, and then my grandmother got sick with Alzheimer's, so that wasn't a big family tradition. I do remember it, though, and I have some special memories from that. That's the last time all us cousins got together, aunts and uncles. It's on my mother's side. My mother had 5 brothers and sisters. She had 2 sisters and 3 brothers, so there was 3 girls and 3 boys, and they had their own families. So they would bring their whole families over to Grandma and Grandpa's house before she got sick, and Grandma would cook the entire meal. And now I know how much work that is, so I admire her. But that quit in early 70s because she got sick. But I do remember being there, and I remember how nice of a time it was. But, you have to evolve. Family members pass away. It's the younger people's job to take over and keep the traditions going. That's kind of the problem now. The younger people don't want to take over, and these traditions are slowly dying, which is kind of what made me do this video in the first place. Everything I've mentioned tonight is something that's just part of my life, and it makes me happy. Every time I think about holidays, I think of, the way it used to be, and having family. Since I don't have any family. I have my wife and my kids, and I'm very grateful for that. I love my kids. I love my wife, including my stepson. I love them all. And that's why I'm looking forward to Christmas this year, because I feel like it's far and few between that I get to cook for all of them. And all the older people, of course, it's life cycle. They pass away. But since older people pass away, younger people aren't keeping these traditions. Younger people just aren't going out. They're not going through. It's too much effort. Well, you know what? I don't have a big family. I used to. I don't. I wish I did. I hear people talking about, big family get-togethers, and, my family was never that close. At least not to me, not to my part of the family. I wish I had that. So these traditions and stuff need to be, it's your family. Make your own traditions and stick to them, because this is how you build memories. Soon enough, you'll be older than me, and you'll be looking back saying, wow, I really miss this. I really miss that. You don't have to stop doing them. I'm going to try everything in my power this year to do some of these older traditions that we used to do and show my family a good time for Christmas, because I love my family. And, we'll see what happens. But anyway, put in the comments what you guys grew up with and your traditions. Did you do things differently than our family? I'm sure you did. I'd like to hear the different traditions you did. I was talking to another friend of mine, and apparently Christmas Eve, they do a whole lineup of a bunch of, I think it's an Italian thing possibly. They do a whole bunch of different fishes. What do they call it? The 7 fishes or something like that? Or is that a Jewish thing? Oh, damn, I don't know. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody. Christmas Eve, that'd be nice to do a little thing. Leave in the comments what you guys do. I'm really curious. I'm done running my mouth. Thanks for sticking around. And sorry I didn't do trivia tonight, but maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Take it away, Izzy. And for me, bye.
Bruce forgot one important tradition that he experienced at a very young age. His grandparents, who were German, used to tell him about Krampus, so he would be afraid to misbehave. Well, maybe that's left best to be another video. If you watched until the end, comment Krampus. Good night. And yes, I am wearing clothes.
It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.